Connecting you to the future. Looking back to the beginning of time. The language of dolphins. And relics from the first solar-powered town. General Motors and Segway have teamed together to build the Puma, short for Personal Urban Mobility and Accessibility. The prototype runs on a lithium-ion battery and uses Segway's characteristic two-wheeled balancing technology.
Pretty small little vehicle. It's about as wide as this bike lane right next to us.
Designed to be a fast, safe, inexpensive and clean alternative to traditional cars in an urban environment, the project envisages a vast communications network, allowing vehicles to interact with each other, regulate the flow of traffic and prevent crashes. It's designed to reach speeds of up to 55 kilometres per hour and can run 55 kilometres on a single charge. GM said there is currently no timeline for production.
The story that we find so fascinating, and also I think so important for urban dwellers, is the ability to get to their destination faster, the ability to not worry about parking the vehicle, and importantly, you know, if you are used to the daily grind of your commute and you'd rather be doing something else, you can allow the vehicle to drive itself and you can take advantage of that time.
Ideally, the vehicle's communication system, including a transponder and GPS technology, would allow it to be aware of other vehicles and drive itself. Company representatives said its total operating cost, including purchase price, insurance, maintenance and fuel, would be between 1/4 and 1/3 of the average conventional vehicle. Because the vehicles would automatically avoid obstacles such as pedestrians and other cars, theoretically they could not crash.
Energy efficiency is fashionable and reducing your environmental footprint is fashionable, and I also think it's fashionable to be polite to other people when you're driving. This whole thing of road rage is unfortunate. These are polite machines. They're quiet, they're clean.
The ambitious announcement comes at a time when GM faces an uncertain future, with huge changes in train in the international car industry and the lowest vehicle sales in more than 25 years. The Planck Research Satellite will measure the very weak cosmic background radiation, the last vestiges of the Big Bang at the beginning of time. The Planck satellite will map the same type of electromagnetic waves generated by our familiar kitchen appliances. We know it as microwave radiation.
The light we're looking at is just like looking at light from the sun. It takes 8 minutes to get it from the sun. We're looking at light from the beginning of the universe, and it takes 14 billion years to get here.
The launch of the satellite has been delayed due to uncertainty about a subsystem on the Ariane 5 ECA booster. It will be launched with the Herschel Space Telescope and will be positioned to orbit the Sun at a Lagrangian point known as L2, where the Sun's and the Earth's gravitational fields will hold it in equilibrium. One of the biggest challenges has been to build a satellite with detectors that are sensitive enough to register the very weak cosmic radiation.
La première difficulté, c'est de refroidir les détecteurs des instruments scientifiques.
The first challenge was to cool the detectors of the science instruments enough to allow them to detect this tenuous light coming from the first ages of the Big Bang. To do that, we have to chill them to minus 273 degrees Celsius. Just a comparison, the temperature differences we will be measuring are as small as those between two people situated 1,000 kilometres apart.
Planck will spin, allowing its ear-like telescope to scan the whole sky. The weak microwaves will be focused on small collectors, which channel the light to the heart of the instruments.
There is one kind of instrument that works pretty much like a transistor radio. So it uses an antenna and it catches the waves, and then it translates that to a voltage which corresponds to the signal on the sky. The other type works a little differently. It's essentially a very sensitive thermometer. So it catches the waves, the thermometer increases, shows a change in the temperature of the absorber that has taken the waves, and we measure that to interpret that as a signal from the sky.
Launched in 1989, the COBE satellite discovered irregularities in the cosmic microwave background, suggesting the early expansion of the universe was not a uniform process. By mapping these irregularities, cosmologists hope to gain insight into dark matter and dark energy. No one knows if dark matter really exists, but if it does, it can explain the continued expansion of the universe. A shift toward the red end of the spectrum in light from distant galaxies indicates that they are travelling away from us, and so it's logical for scientists to conclude that everything was once not just closer together, but so close it occupied just one point. This was the Big Bang, and physicists here on Earth were trying to recreate a small version of the Big Bang within the giant particle accelerator known as the Large Hadron Collider, buried deep beneath the ground at the Swiss-French border. But there has been a problem. More than 6 months ago, when the new accelerator was first activated, a helium leak caused a catastrophic shutdown. The collider has been under repair ever since. Made up of 1,700 supercooled magnets and measuring 27 kilometres in circumference, this is the world's biggest laboratory. Here, scientists from over 80 countries will attempt to approximate some of the conditions that happened at the Big Bang. The underground facility is designed to accelerate streams of subatomic particles called hadrons to near light speed.
By going back that far in time, by recreating, we're if you like, we're exploring the physics, the way the universe unfolded in those first few instances of time. If you look at what has happened to science in the 20th century, and we've gone from, from the automobile through planes to be able to sort of try and probe the structure of the universe in this way, it's just inconceivable. And I think it's just part of this adventure, just man pushing against the limits.
By colliding these two streams, researchers hope to approximate some of the conditions that happened at the Big Bang. One objective is to observe the Higgs boson particle, an as yet unobserved particle predicted in the Standard Model of Elementary Particles. Six detectors are located at different points around the ring. Some are general-purpose instruments, while others are designed for very specific roles. The Atlas detector will observe phenomena that occur at the collisions of highly massive particles. The magnets used to accelerate the particles around the giant loop are cooled with liquid helium, so that they will conduct electricity without resistance. Soon after it was first switched on and testing commenced, a faulty connection between two magnets arced, breaking the cooling layer of helium. 6 tons of liquid helium was lost, and 53 of the giant magnets were destroyed. Currently, the magnets are being replaced, and wiring is being redesigned to make certain that similar problems cannot reoccur. Researchers are eager to start their delayed experiments, but some outsiders are worrying that the switching on of the Large Hadron Collider could trigger a series of catastrophic events.
Be sure that this isn't going to happen, because we know that there are cosmic rays hitting the Earth, hitting the atmosphere, the Sun, the Moon, Jupiter, all of the time at even higher energies than we can create here. The aspect that's different here is that we're doing it in the same place so that we can actually observe what happens. But we know that we can't do something here that hasn't been going on for millions of years already at even higher energies.
Each year, 10 petabytes, that's 10 quadrillion bytes of data, will flow from the laboratory to grids of computers at research institutions around the world.
So it allows a physicist to want to analyze some data without having to know where that data is sitting, without having to know where the computers that he's going to use are, And the software allows those things to be brought together to do the work on his behalf and send him the result.
The largest experimental device ever built will answer fundamental questions about the nature of matter. Dolphins emit an extremely complex stream of sounds. It was not a great leap to assume that this was some form of language, but attempts at identifying any coherent patterns have been elusive. Now, a British acoustics engineer claims he may be close to deciphering the clicks and whistles that make up dolphin speak. Using sand, a brass plate and a violin bow, he demonstrated auditory patterns he believes dolphins could be transmitting and recognising with the huge portion of their brain devoted to hearing. John Stuart Reid has developed an instrument called a cymoscope that translates the sounds into complex geometric patterns that he hopes will provide the key to understanding dolphin communication. John has been working with a Florida-based cetacean researcher who collects the dolphin and whale sounds in the field and sends them back to the UK. He's trying to find a relationship between particular patterns and physical objects. But a lot more work needs to be done in recording dolphin sounds.
Many researchers are actually looking at specific animals and trying to catalogue with the type of noises they make. It's quite early days. I mean, a lot of research has been done for quite a long time to try and understand as much as we can about the acoustics of these animals and what they mean to them.
Results are still some years away. Traditional houses on the Greek island of Santorini feature whitewashed walls and roofs. Now, scientists in California are saying the white roofs could help soften the impact of climate change and should be a feature of all buildings, especially in urban heat islands. The concentration of buildings and paving in urban areas make them 2 to 3 degrees Celsius warmer than rural areas with the same climate. Researchers at Berkeley National Laboratory have been working for decades to advance research on cooling hot urban areas.
Segment on cool.
Hashim Akbari, a scientist at the Berkeley National Laboratory, says reflective roofing is a simple way to cool urban areas.
On cool communities that
the current urban areas have a reflectivity of about 0.1 to 0.15. So we are trying to increase that to about 0.2 to 0.25. And that would reflect, rather than 5 units out of 100 units of energy, it would reflect 5.003 units, a very small increase in this fraction. And that is enough to offset 44 gigaton of CO2.
With typical cities made up of 25% roofs and 35% pavement, researchers think that making these surfaces lighter or more reflective could help keep temperatures down. The so-called cool roofs, which can be either white or other light colours, can keep a dwelling cooler in the sun and cut owners' air conditioning costs. The Sacramento Municipal Utility District has a program to encourage the use of cool roofing materials. Asphalt shingles retain heat, but these clay and concrete roof tiles are coated with titanium dioxide and are highly reflective. The district also encourages the use of shade trees, another natural way to keep a home cool. California has included cool roofs in its energy code.
Blue and green indicates cool areas, and you can see Sacramento River, American River, rice fields are cool. Meanwhile, red are urban areas.
Sacramento is the second of 3 American cities to be surveyed in the Urban Heat Island project. Orangevale in Sacramento County has a variety of different roofing, but because the district will subsidise homeowners replacing their roofs if they choose a cool roof, more and more people are refitting. Here, a thin layer of white vinyl is heat welded to a foam layer.
It has excellent waterproofing, excellent reflectivity, and excellent emissivity. On top of that, they have a layer of rigid foam which provides insulation, which helps dramatically during the hot summer months and also helps during the heating months in the winter.
Cooler indoor temperatures mean lower power consumption and reduced emissions from power plants. Sloping roofs are more visible, bringing up aesthetic concerns, but a titanium dioxide coating makes the tiles more reflective while retaining the same colour. San Francisco Bay isn't as reflective as Santorini just yet, but if covered with white and cool roofs, it would mean lower greenhouse gas emissions and create a more comfortable urban environment. But Professor Kevin Anderson of the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change Research does not believe cool roofs will make a significant difference.
By painting the roofs of your house white, what you will be doing is stopping as much of the sun's heat warming up the surface of your house. That sun's heat will be reflecting back out into space. So that will help your house stay a little bit cooler.
According to NASA satellite data, more than 2 trillion tonnes of ice has melted since 2003. As the darker ground or open ocean is exposed, the areas absorb more heat. Reflective buildings may go a small way in counteracting this loss. But most climate experts agree that a change away from fossil fuels is the best way to counter global climate change. Central Australia receives lots of sun, and the small opal mining town of White Cliffs was the first place in the world to be entirely powered by solar energy. After the town was finally connected to the grid, the solar plant was decommissioned.
It's something that's on the horizon here that is a bit different from looking at our 50,000 mullikeeps out there, you know, and our dugouts and our bare horizon, you know.
The 14 3-metre parabolic dishes were constructed in 1981. Each one focused the sun's rays on a collector where water was boiled to drive a steam engine and generate power. They were changed in 1996 to a photovoltaic system and began feeding power into the newly arrived grid. The town they were built to serve is no ordinary place, with most of the dwellings built underground to protect them from the extreme temperatures. Bert Gale is one of White Cliff's 200 residents who live in dugout homes. Bert is an opal miner, and like most people in the town, he has a close connection with the environment. His underground home has the standard complement of modern conveniences, yet it has a very small carbon footprint.
Living in the cave, look, it's just wonderful. It's the best eco house that you could have. I mean, the temperature stays a constant 19 to 23 degrees all year round. At night, it's very quiet. We want for nothing here because we have satellite television, we have radio, we have power, water.
The area bears the scars of mining, but without opals, the town would not survive. The solar plant that brought power to White Cliffs is to be preserved. Britain's Severn Estuary is the proposed site of a massive renewable energy project, but the plan has divided conservationists. The broad grey estuary supports thousands of migratory birds and wildlife, but it also has huge tidal swings that make it a good place for a dam to harness the rise and fall of the waters. It could provide clean green energy, but the wildlife will suffer. Researchers at Cardiff University say the proposed barrage would also act as a flood defence.
There are huge energy resources, tidal energy resources in this estuary, and it's very focused, so you can get a lot of power from a very relatively confined location.
This stretch of marshland, about 200 kilometres west of London, is one of the country's most popular reserves. The proposed dam, one of a short list of 5 green energy proposals, would be made up of a 17-kilometre long wall built across the Severn Estuary and would radically change the nature of the area.
If the Cardiff Western barrage option was built, that would lead to a reduction in the amount of sort of mudflats and other habitats exposed of up to 3/4 of them. So that option could potentially be very environmentally damaging, and we believe that there are lots of other options that could be less environmentally damaging that the government needs to really adequately and thoroughly explore.
The area protects white-fronted geese and whooper swans. In winter, Buick swans arrive from northern Russia with other visiting birds of prey, such as the peregrine and merlin, as well as wading birds and songbirds.
Something has to be done to use the water power in the river, but it's got to be carefully thought out because of all the birds that have been here for hundreds and over 1,000 years. The geese have been coming to this area.
Conservationists worry that a dam downstream would disturb the tides that bring in the food for the 60,000 migratory and wintering birds each year.
In terms of the alternatives to a barrage, there are several types of schemes, be it offshore lagoons, land-connected lagoons, reefs and tidal stream turbines. And we believe that some combination of these technologies would be a more appropriate way to harness the power of the Severn Estuary.
Britain plans to derive 15% of its energy from renewables by 2020, and a successful tidal power plant here could generate up to 8.6 gigawatts of power, or the equivalent of 8 coal-fired power stations, or 5% of Britain's needs. If CO2 could be collected from conventional power stations and prevented from escaping, fossil fuels could be used without changing the balance of gases in the atmosphere. These small ceramic tubes could provide a means of burning natural gas in a way that its only byproducts are CO2 and water. Conventional gas-fired power stations burn methane in a stream of air, producing a mixture of nitrogen and greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxides, which are emitted into the atmosphere. Separating the gases is currently not practical because of the high cost and large amount of energy required.
This means that you can run a combustion process that is carbon neutral. All of the carbon that you put into the process actually comes out in a single carbon-containing stream that just contains carbon dioxide.
Around the world, weather records are being broken and rebroken. The insulating effect of the atmosphere is being enhanced as the proportion of CO2 continues to increase. The burning of fossil fuels is the main reason for this, and if the carbon capture and storage technologies are able to be effectively implemented, we may yet be able to stabilise the levels of CO2 in the atmosphere. The viability of the new technology depends on the settings of a carbon credit system.